Hey, so we're here with Kathleen, and now we're going to tap into an important question that almost every investor has in its mind. What are the criteria to find a property? We have so many, and I think getting these insights from an expert broker would be very valuable. So Kathleen, can you walk us through the considerations that you see from your experience and the criteria to really find a property, the right property for an investor?
Yes, excellent. Thank you for the question, Nir. I think that's where I specialize, is doing the interview with each and every investor. I want to know what their expectations are for our city and let them know if that's reasonable for our city. And what I mean by that is what cap rates, what net operating income they're looking for. Here at Shorey Group, we do A, B, and C areas. That's what we specialize in. Anything below that, which are going to be your DNF areas, you may get presented properties or you may see them online and they look like a good property. It looks like the condition is good, but if you're buying it in a D or an F area, that is nothing but disaster for the investor. You're going to have high vacancy rates, your tenant pool is going to be bad, and your suite preps are going to be incredibly high because you're going to have a destruction of the property. Also, no good property management companies, including mine, will manage in DNF areas. So that's why we specialize in the A, B, and C areas. Your B and C areas are going to offer you a little higher cap rate and a stable appreciation. Obviously, if you go into the B areas, you're going to get a little more appreciation, a little less cap rate. And some investors like what we call a total global investment, which means you're getting both high appreciation each year and a moderate cap rate. So we're going to determine that on the interview with you. And to us, we get a range of investors with, all-in monies of $70,000 all the way up to a couple million. And it doesn't matter to us. We're going to treat each investor respectfully. We're going to listen to you, learn the details about what you're looking for, and then we're going to go out and locate that property for you if it is within our specialty.
That's really great information. And to clarify for the investor, could you talk a bit about the definition, or how would you define the area class A, B, and C? What would you look at to say this is an A class area or B class area, and so forward? Sure.
Again, let's speak specifically about the A, B, and C areas because that is our niche, and that's really the only areas that you want to invest in. Otherwise, the risk is too great. We won't even sell investments in your DNF areas. The criteria that we look for, which will determine the ABC areas, or what is a percentage of owner-occupant purchases around your property, what is the per annual income and college graduates in that area, what are the rental amounts in that area, how are the school systems, and that determines the A, B, and C areas for us.
Great. So I want to tap into some of the important observations that we are learning now through Kathleen and through the years of our shared experience together. And honestly, I see the same thing all across the US. If it's Metro Atlanta, and honestly also in Detroit, it's the same. It's pretty much the same. And I think what we first observation that we are taking here is the investor mindset, not to think just about maximum performance, but it's more of an optimization consideration, because there is the quality of the area, the class grade, and there is the performance, and as you said it right, the performance on paper in what might look good, like D and F areas. They look good on paper, but they pose more risks. And we know to help the investor avoid that altogether. But on the other end, for other investors, it's personal. There is no right property. There are investors who would like to have an A-class area, or other investors, for them it would be more suitable to buy a C-class area. Mm-hmm. So aside of getting a property in a good price for what it is, we are going through an exercise of really finding the right property per investor, taking the time to interview, asking questions, understanding the investor targets and goals, and doing basically a match of where we are heading to. Are we going to target an A-class property or a C-class property? And this is a value add for the investor that we can help him better understand and determine his goal to begin with, so he could understand what he could expect in terms of the appreciation, which is higher expectation in the A and B class area, in compared to the C class area, which is a more of a, you always like to say, a working horse that provides the results, but ongoing cash flow, but less expectation of appreciation.
Sure, sure. And another point I want to make as far as criteria, again, I will listen to what your expectations are, but you have to keep in mind I have 20 years experience here. I am the expert in the area. I'm going to know those areas, even if they are good areas, there are better streets that rent better, that if your plan is to get out of the portfolio in 5 years, we want to make sure that you're going to get some value out of the property when you sell it. So I always look for conforming properties when I buy for my investors. And what I mean by conforming is I want them to conform to the other houses on the street. You never want to buy a property that has a bad floor plan. First of all, you're not going to get good rental amounts. I know the areas which should determine that you need that extra bath to get a little more rental amount. There are certain areas that you want to have a finished basement in to get a little more rental amount. So we know these things, and we're going to steer you to try to get you the best investment for the amount of money that you want to invest with our company.
Thank you for that, Kathleen. I think this is very important for every investor to realize, because sometimes for investor looking at online websites like Zillow, Trulia Homes, or whatever, and taking the time to go in the Google Maps and see the street, which could look very nice, there are still parameters in the property layout that are important. And why these are important? Because first thing, if you think about a rental property, you want to make sure that the property is not inferior to the standard quality of what happens in this block or street, and it is important. And I want also to connect it to another thing you said. When we are doing an investment, we are thinking end to end. Are you thinking about a short-term rental, or are you thinking about a long-term rental? Because this taps into the class grade area when we have investor that wants the flexibility and wants maybe to sell within 3 to 4 years. We might steer him away to say, look, this is the C areas for long-term rental. It's great, but maybe you would like to consider the B class area, which also gives you this kind of performance, but also provides you more options when you want to sell the property, because we know what happens in the owner-occupied market and buying properties in this area. And it taps back to what we discussed about thinking optimization and not thinking maximization.
Absolutely. Good point. Good point here.